Alright, so for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Gardner Bender Locknut wrenches. Now, these were originally offered at Home Depot before Klein offered their Locknut wrenches there. So these I would assume is where Klein got their idea from to come out with a pair of Locknut wrenches and make the design a little bit better, or in their eyes, a little bit better. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Locknut wrenches, these are used for taking these lock nuts off fittings for electrical work. And they come in 3 different sizes, so you get 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch, and they are color coded, which is nice. So here we'll take a look at the 1/2 inch one right here. You got the Gardner Bender name. It tells you which way will tighten the lock nut and which way will break the lock nut loose. So there is the 1/2 inch variation of the tool from Gardner Bender, and the 3/4 is going to be the same, except for instead of it being red, the tool is in blue. And I do like that it has the little hole right there, so if you wanted to maybe like run some wire through it and clip it to your bag, or maybe run a screw through it and or a screw or a bolt and a nut and kind of hold them together so you don't lose all 3 of them or misplace them. And then here is the 1 inch variation of the tool. Now it's a fairly simple tool, not really much to go in depth. You kind of just put it on the lock nut when it is sitting in a box, so we'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you. You basically just put your fitting in the box, and then you have your lock nut here, and you put it on your fitting and tighten it down as far as you can go with your hand, and then you take the lock nut, and if you want to tighten it down some more, you just kind of spin it around, and what it's doing is it is tightening that lock nut on your fitting so the fitting doesn't move. And it's going to move since I don't have it connected to any conduit or anything, but you're basically locking down that fitting so that it doesn't move, doesn't come loose, doesn't break loose, and you have wires just exposed for either something or someone to go and touch those wires. So that's basically what a lock nut wrench is for. It's a fairly basic design. I believe Gardner Bender for the longest time was the only one that did offer lock nut wrenches in a store. And then Klein came out with their variation of the lock nut wrenches, and they just, they put them in their own colors and made them a little bit more improved. So here is the Klein compared to the Gardner Bender one. The Klein one does have magnets, so they are magnetic. They do stick to each other, whereas the Gardner Bender ones just have that little hole right there. So if you wanted to run something through there, you could. They're not magnetic. And the Kleins have this offset. I remember when they were doing the survey for these Klein ones, they asked if, offset or straight, and obviously a lot of people said they wanted them offset. Now, some people do claim that these lock nut wrenches suck from Klein, so I guess here is your other alternative, and I'm sure someone else has some out there, but these are the Gardner Bender ones. Now, if you don't want to use lock nut wrenches, the way I was taught to deal with the lock nuts was to take, just, a 1/4 inch slotted and a pair of Lyman's, and then you smack it until you break the lock nut loose there on the box. But you can also, this was something that I just learned recently, is you can take a pair of pliers. Doesn't have to be an adjustable pair of pliers, or it could be a pair of channel locks or whatever. And what you do is you just kind of move it around move the fitting around with the pliers, and you can break that lock nut free. Now, these, just being a smooth end pair of pliers, most likely aren't going to work as well as a pair of channel locks or something like that, but I've learned that if you put a pair of channel locks or if you put a pair of adjustables on there, you can break the lock nut free on the inside. But like I said, most of the time I've ever done lock nuts, breaking them and tightening them, I've always just used a slotted screwdriver and a pair of linesman pliers. But if you don't want to beat up on your screwdriver, and you want, because sometimes you can't exactly always get a screwdriver into one of these boxes, or particularly for us on a rooftop unit, sometimes when the electrician does their wire or pulls their wire into the unit, they don't always bring it into the same place, and sometimes they put the box in an awkward place where you can't get your screwdriver and your hammer in there, or you can't get a pair of pliers in there. So a lock nut wrench would come in handy to just kind of get in there and break that lock nut free. And I really did tighten this one down, but you just go in there and you break it free, and you just loosen it up a little bit. Now I'm turning the whole fitting. It's supposed to be locked on, but you can see right there you are able to break it free and break that lock nut loose. So overall, these lock nut wrenches definitely, if you're looking to use them, great. I'm not quite sure where you can pick the Gardner Bender ones up anymore. Like I said before, they were available in Home Depot before Klein came out with theirs, and then Klein's kind of took over that, and they kind of pushed Gardner Bender off to the side. And it'd be interesting to see if Milwaukee comes out with something similar to these, or similar to these, since they're pretty much copying Klein on everything. So it'd be interesting to see if they come out with a pair of lock nut wrenches. And I'm sure there's other lock nut wrenches out there on the market if you're looking to pick some up. These are just the two brands that I'm very familiar with, Klein and Gardner Bender. Like I said, I picked these up first before I ever picked up the Kleins. And then I kind of just put these off to the side because I never really, like I said, I never really used them. It's going to be hard to break the habit of just taking a screwdriver and a pair of linemen's to break them and tighten them up. It's going to be hard to break that habit. But if you're just starting off in the field and you don't want to beat up on your screwdriver, definitely invest in a pair of lock nut wrenches. But with that being said, that's all I have for this video. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.